Welcome back, dear viewers, to Whatever You Need, the cozy corner of YouTube where stories breathe differently, details matter, and whispers often echo louder than declarations. Before we embark on today's carefully woven narrative, remember to tap that subscribe button, leave a like, and, if you feel like supporting our little storytelling sanctuary, click the join button to help our channel grow. Now settle in, because today's tale is one of subtle motions and unspoken currents, unfolding not through grand gestures, but through the tiniest of cues that somehow thundered across the internet. It all began with a phrase so modest, so crystalline in its simplicity, that it felt almost playful, "I don't know." Spoken by Barış Baktaş with that famously unshakable calm, it carried the elegance of a stone skipping across a lake. Quiet at first, then rippling outward in widening circles of speculation. He uttered it almost as though placing a full stop at the end of a wandering rumor. And yet, instead of ending anything, those three syllables seemed to loosen the hinges on a door many believed had been closed for good. Barış wasn't feigning ignorance, everyone knows he's far too sharp for that. The name Yağmur Yüksel was not a mystery to him, far from it. What he appeared to deflect was the murmurings of a reconnection that had been humming beneath the cultural surface, a soft-spoken warmth returning, an alignment felt more than seen, a quiet rekindling whose embers had apparently been waiting for the right draft of air. He tried to smother the sparks with a casual shrug. Instead, the sparks found oxygen. And then came the tiniest of modern confessions, the digital equivalent of a heartbeat stuttering. A follow. A tap so light it wouldn't disturb dust on a windowsill, yet in the currency of contemporary affection, it resounded like a cathedral bell. Barış began following Yağmur's newly minted lifestyle account, the one she launched almost without announcement, where she shares nothing grand, only little slices of peace, steaming mugs at dawn, sunlit corners that look like softened memory, quiet rooms holding their breath. That innocent gesture ignited the web like dry tinder meeting flame. Predictably, comment sections erupted. Fans lined up like amateur sleuths dusting for fingerprints. Threads multiplied. Memes sprouted overnight like stubborn spring flowers pushing through concrete. Observers studied those posts the way astronomers inspect a puzzling star, frame by frame, pixel by pixel. They declared theories with the fervor of courtroom closers, classic Barış. He always leaves a breadcrumb. Coincidence? Please. And then, the ring. That gleam changed everything. A ring can mean nothing, unless it suddenly means everything. In a video that looked like it was recorded on a quiet afternoon, with Yağmur meandering around her home in soft light, a band of metal appeared on her finger. Subtle. Understated. A whisper masquerading as jewelry. Yet the internet is incapable of letting whispers stay quiet. In an instant, fans froze the clip, brightened shadows, zoomed until resolution trembled. The ring became a specimen under the microscope of public fascination. Theories detonated across platforms. TikTok flooded with edits. Instagram turned into a constellation of side-by-side comparisons. Twitter, ever the global newsroom powered by caffeine and emotion, became a symposium of lovers, skeptics, and digital detectives. People cross-examined furniture, decor, reflections in glass panes. They argued over marble veining like archaeologists arguing over fossils. When a countertop resembled one glimpsed in Barış's world, declarations sprang forth like verdicts, "That's his space." When a chair matched a previous photo of hers, "That's her home." And when both seemed familiar, this is not coincidence anymore. But the moment where time seemed to pause came later, through a photograph that landed online without the faintest intention of explanation. No tags. No decorative caption trying to guide the interpretation. Just two human beings sitting side by side with the kind of ease one cannot stage. Barış wore a faint, half-awake smile. Yağmur looked as if she had been caught in a moment she didn't mind sharing. And yes, the ring made another quiet appearance, as though it had things to say but preferred to speak in soft, steady light. For long-time observers of their dynamic, none of this was unfamiliar. Barış has always possessed a choreography entirely his own. He declines theatrics, sidesteps spectacle, dodges demands for clarity, right up until he chooses to drop a detail so weighty that it redraws the map. His message is always the same: he doesn't perform for approval, but he refuses to live in hiding. Yağmur moves differently, she radiates rather than reveals. She lets light tell the story, not press statements. She offers glimpses rather than explanations, and somehow those glimpses amplify the truth more effectively than any interview ever could. As expected, the public reacted with a spectrum of emotion. Hopeless romantics raised their voices first. They were always meant to orbit back toward one another. Cautious realists hedged their judgments. Isn't this a bit sudden? And between these poles stretched the vast territory of curiosity. The same curiosity, perhaps, that compels you watching this video to lean a little closer. Let me pause for a moment and ask you, yes, you right there, what do you think? Does this look like a reunion years in the making, or simply two people being caught in coincidences magnified by our collective obsession? Share your thoughts below, and while you're writing that comment, don't forget you can support whatever you need by joining our membership. Your presence keeps our stories alive. Returning to our timeline, recent murmurs hinted that both Barış and Yağmur had entered a more introspective chapter of their lives, one marked by intention rather than impulse. Those close to Barış describe a man who now embraces slowness like a discipline, mornings over midnights, quiet cafes over showy gatherings, authenticity over performance. Friends of Yağmur mention a newfound softness in her smile, the kind that emerges when someone no longer feels the need to brace themselves against the world. So the looming question becomes, what if this moment isn't a beginning at all, but a carefully folded continuation? A tapestry looked at from the wrong corner until now. A ring can be decorative, yes. But in the orbit of public figures, especially two with a history so carefully watched, it rarely sits without intention. When it appears without the fanfare of red carpets or glossy magazine spreads, it becomes something else entirely, a riddle wrapped around a finger. A truth wearing a disguise so thin it might as well be transparent. Fans continued their investigations with almost endearing devotion. They analyzed angles of sunlight as though studying time-lapse photography. They compared plants, rugs, reflections in teapots. They saved screenshots like exhibits in a trial none of us officially agreed to be part of. And in doing so, they realized something quietly powerful: authenticity has fingerprints, even when people try very hard not to leave any. That photograph, the one without the caption, felt like a sigh escaping the universe. Nothing about it felt rehearsed. The way their bodies leaned subtly inward. The relaxed posture of their shoulders. The familiarity in the eyes, not forced, not staged, but lived in, like the memory of a shared joke resurfacing at the right moment. Barış's pattern remained intact: resist performance, then speak with actions. Yağmur's language stayed luminous, illuminate rather than announce. Together, without scripting a single sentence, they wrote a chapter everyone could read anyway. Some people call this destiny. Others label it timing. Maybe the truth floats somewhere in the quiet space between the two. Close enough to be sensed, far enough to remain their own. And so we arrive at the natural question: where does this story drift from here? Do we stand at the threshold of something new, or are we witnessing a river returning to its original path? If there is a story to tell, it will reveal itself slowly, perhaps through more rings catching the sun, or more photographs that pretend to be casual. If there is no story, then this season will still remain a beautiful moment when three simple words, "I don't know," briefly held the world's breath. As we wrap up this journey, I want to turn once more to you, our beloved community. Does this feel like closure, rebirth, or continuation to you? Would you want to see Barış Baktaş and Yağmur Yüksel here on our channel someday, maybe sitting on the whatever you need couch, answering your most thoughtful questions? If so, drop those questions below. What would you ask them if you had 10 quiet minutes and a cup of warm coffee between you? And before you go, don't forget, like this video, subscribe, and consider joining our channel if you'd love to support these deep dive stories. This has been Whatever You Need, and we'll meet again in the next chapter of Whatever the World Whispers next.